I know. I call this pre-meeting briefing of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 6:06 p.m. on October 5th, 2017. The purpose of this pre-meeting briefing is to conduct a briefing session with administrative staff regarding the posted agenda for the regular board meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. on October 5th, 2017. For the record, board members present are Guillermo Ramos, Randy Shackman, Candice Valenzuela, Tara Herbachik, Nancy Klein, and myself, John Matthews. Board members, do you have any questions regarding consent agenda items?
Except to say that this one is straightforward, simple one.
Yeah, exactly.
And a whole lot of things to question. Yeah, you're right, okay. Okay, hearing none and seeing none. Dr. Burns, are there any reports by administration?
Yes, Mr. Matthews, we have a few things we want to inform the board with tonight. So I'm going to let Ms. Warnock go, and then Ms. Tillman, and then I'll wrap up with a few things from my end. So, Ms. Tillman, Ms. Warnock.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Members of the board, just a few updates from the Educational Services Division. We have just completed our beginning of the year MAP testing through NWEA. It's something that we talked about at the work study, that we do 3 interim tests during the year. We administered over 50,000 tests to our kinder through 9th grade students in the testing window, and we had 21 instances of reported issues. So we thought 21 instances for 50,000 tests was a pretty good instant test ratio there. 9 of those had to do with bandwidth issues, most of which were issues with NWEA, but we were able to correct really quickly. So that also was a good test and feedback for us about our bandwidth system, so wanted to share that with you. We had our initial rollout this year of an LMS, a learning management system, Canvas. Some of the feedback we had from students going to college was that was new learning for them, how to navigate a learning management system, and so we put that in place. We did training this summer for teachers, and we have small baseline expectations that we'll be rolling out now through 2020 to increase teacher usage and learning. So right now, with our initial training, we have 683 teachers active in using Canvas for instruction, with 16,206 students navigating the LMS. Some students creating tutorial groups and communication groups on their own to work with peers on their coursework outside of class. So we think that's really exciting, and we appreciate the investment that the board gave for that technology. Additionally, we began keyboarding curriculum in grades 2 through 5. So that was a growing concern to see students coming, doing hunt and peck method of typing at middle school, and we know that we need to have that typing skill as part of our digital literacy, and so we have rolled that out, and it is underway. An update on our health and safety. We had many parents come for our Invite Your Parents to PE Day, and so the SHAC committee was very excited about that. 4th grade swim is well underway, and we're so proud of that program in our district. And again, the first week of school, having 4th graders come learn to swim, we know that's vitally important. And we had many schools participate in International Walk to School Week, which was on Wednesday. International Walk to School Day on Wednesday. The district is participating in accountability feedback forums for Region 10. So we attended the feedback for the Index 1, and we'll be attending for Index 2 for the 2018-19 accountability system and giving feedback to Region 10. And then finally, we have been thrilled to have 19 students here with us from Germany as part of an exchange. The City of Farmers Branch initiated that as a cultural exchange with Garbsen 28 years ago. And we've been participating, so we have 2 of our German students here tonight, Luca and Moritz, and they are anxiously awaiting to get to the R.L. Turner football game. Last Friday was the best night ever for our German students to get to see American football at the stadium.
Is that the only reason it was the best night ever?
It wasn't a bad night for the mom and the quarterback either.
It was a great night to experience the football and to be in American school. So we've been really thrilled to participate in that exchange program. And then our students will be able to travel to Germany this summer to stay with our exchange students. So another opportunity that we provide. Ms. Tillman, Dr. Burns.
We wanted to provide you with just a quick staffing update and let you know that we have staff out, even as we speak, actively looking for the best teachers that they can find for our district. We have current openings as well as potential openings that we'll be requesting your approval tonight with the budget amendment. So we've given principals the go-ahead to look, and we've got 2 of our directors out looking, knowing that we do have to have funds approved for all of those. But we wanted to let you know that they are out and pursuing the best teachers for our district. We do want to also let you know we've added several recruiting trips as we look for these positions. And we do have an update on our waiver number. That's an agenda item. So I do want to give you in advance a revised waiver report, because we have hired 1 teacher since the date of the posting of the board meeting. So we want you to have those revised numbers, and we will be giving you more information about those waivers. But we also want to let you know that as Ms. Smith is evaluating the class sizes on a daily basis at the beginning of the year, her first contact is to the principal to find out what their needs are. In many cases, if they're only 1 student over and they feel really strongly about their staff, the principal will be adamant that they want to leave as is for those numbers. And we honor our principals' recommendations because they're the ones that know best what they need for their campus. In some cases, they will ask for a sub to come in if they're 2 over potentially, or they may request an aide. So we will work directly with our principals and let them guide the decisions as we evaluate our waivers.
And the handout you're going to give them is an amendment to tonight. So when you get to that agenda item, they're going to give you the new waiver information. So you'll have that in front of you when we get to that on the agenda. So Ms. Tillman, that's it from yours. So, well, board members, I have 3 things. One, remind you about the TASA conference this weekend. I think you're all ready to go. You got all the information you need for that conference. And I do want for the public to know that you do this on your own time. It's extra work, and I'm proud that this board always exceeds the number of hours required for board training. And so when we go down there, I think we can be proud of CFB's representation in the trustee level, because you take that learning serious and your role serious. And so I want to let you know we appreciate that from staff and the community. And if you need anything when you get down there, you can always call us, but you should be ready to go when you get there. So a good lineup of speakers and many excellent sessions as I've looked through there. So, Ms. Klein.
Wear comfortable shoes.
Wear comfortable shoes is a good suggestion.
You will be walking a lot.
Yeah.
Good reminder.
Yeah. So, second thing, as you know, we had term limits on the agenda last time. We are working diligently to get all that information gathered for you. Sorry we weren't ready for October. Our hope is to get it on November, get that information that you requested so you have it all in front of you. Just want to let you know we are working on it, and we'll have that hopefully ASAP, so you'll have that for consideration. Then the last thing, one of your roles is to evaluate the superintendent, i.e. the district. And so tonight you have your annual district/superintendent evaluation report. It looks like this. Sometimes you need 2 hands to pick it up. So this is your homework assignment for the next month to go through. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to myself, Ms. Warnock, or Ms. Tillman, because a lot of this, obviously, they put in here from their divisions. So that's there for your review. And then the good thing is that it also doubles as an exercise equipment, so you can lift it and do a little extra workout as you go. That will be on the agenda in November to start and or complete if you're ready for that at the November meeting. So I believe that's all of our reports tonight, Mr. Matthews, unless Ms. Scribner or Ms. Smith have something else from the conference or your calendars. It's a busy time in the fall. It's a busy time always, but I know there are lots of things on your calendar. Please let us know how we can help you. So,
Okay. Board members, any questions?
Mr. Matthews,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just hope that everybody will confirm they'll be at the Team of 8 training, because we're all required to be there, else we can't.
it will not count as team of 8 if not 8 of 8.
So, try to tattoo that inside my brain.
That's coming up pretty
October
quick, isn't it?
17th. October 17th.
Yep. week from Tuesday.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none. We have reached the end of our agenda. This meeting is adjourned at 6:16 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call this regular meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees to order at 7:02 p.m. on October 5th, 2017. At this time, please join me in standing as Tiffany Folger Brown, Director of Public Affairs for the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, leads the board's opening prayer. Ms. Brown. And remain standing for the pledges when she's done.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we gather here this day very grateful for all the many blessings which Thou bestows upon us. We're grateful for this country in which we live, for the freedoms that we enjoy. We, at this time, ask for Thy Spirit to be here to guide and direct the good people of this school board, to inspire them to make decisions that are the best for this community and school district. These things we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Now join Randy Shackman as he leads in the pledge to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now Richard Fleming with our pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. As a district, we dedicate all our efforts and resources to our goal of high achievement for each student. The board uses this goal to guide all deliberations, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in a closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code, Section 551, commonly known as the Open Meetings Act law. These items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, board members present are Guillermo Ramos, Randy Shackman, Candace Valenzuela, Tara Herbachik, Richard Fleming, Nancy Klein, and myself, John Matthews. We do constitute a quorum and may conduct business on behalf of the district. As required by Board Policy BBD Local, let the minutes reflect that all board members have met or exceeded the number of continuing education training hours required for 2016. And we're about to get some more this weekend. I'm just saying. Tad, the convention in Dallas. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, before moving on to the next agenda item, I would like to remind you that the board encourages comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so during agenda item number 4, audience for guests. Please submit your request to do so on one of the forms provided on the table just outside the boardroom door. You may place the completed form in the box provided on that table, or present your completed form to Administrative Assistant Ms. Sharon Scrivener right over there. When the board addresses agenda item number 4, audience for guests, you will be invited to the podium to speak to the board. We will now proceed with agenda item number 2, student achievement presentation. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Members of the board, and to our audience there, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. If you've been here before, you know that this board has a standing agenda that says we start with the main thing, the first thing, and that's talking about student achievement. That is our main thing. We always make it the first thing on our agenda. And so tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Michelle Bailey to hear our report on student achievement. Discover the difference. Ms. Bailey.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews, members of the board, and Dr. Burns. Tonight, Catherine Schafer, come on up. The Executive Director of Advanced Academics and World Languages will highlight choice programming in CFB, focusing on the differentiated options we provide to families for their advanced learners. Another reason to choose public, another reason to choose CFB.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present the comprehensive and inclusive programs and services that CFB offers to advance students and extend classroom learning opportunities. Our district-wide curriculum offers personalized learning. Teachers are encouraged to differentiate the student learning experience by content, what the student learns, or by process, how the student learns, or by the performance task that shows what the student learned. Did you know that almost 2,000 students in CFB are identified as gifted and are served through one of our two programs, ACE and LEAP? Our ACE program is piloting math-enriched curriculum in grades 3 and 4 at 5 elementary campuses. The pilot will be extended to all elementary campuses and other grades in the future. Our LEAP program began in the fall of 1985 and was the first public school district in the state to offer a program for the highly gifted with specialized programming and a unique educational setting that is now housed at McCoy Elementary and Perry Middle School. Did you know that CFB is only one of 14 public school districts in the state to offer the IB Continuum pre-K through 12 at Las Colinas and Good Elementary, Barbara Bush Middle School, and Ranchview High School? Students who achieve the IB diploma receive a minimum of 24 college credit hours at Texas public colleges and universities. This school year, we will have 20 full diploma candidates. Did you know that CFB collaborates with UNT classes via live streaming for differentiated equations and Calculus 3, and online with Johns Hopkins University for linear algebra? Did you know that our dual credit partners, Brookhaven and Northlake Community Colleges, have offered our students 2,005 courses taken by 1,672 students, earning 1 to 4 college credit hours per course? Did you know that across the district, CFB offers 33 advanced placement open enrollment courses through College Board? In May 2017, CFB administered 3,210 AP tests for 1,904 individual students. Did you know that 33.9% of our 2017 graduating seniors had already earned college credit by successfully passing at least one AP College Board exam in their high school years? A guest speaker tonight is Vicki Cisneros, our Associate Principal and AP Campus Coordinator for R.L. Turner High School. She is here to share her thoughts on the impact that AP courses can have on students and their futures.
Good evening. As coordinator, I often have conversations with students, parents, and teachers about the many benefits of participating in our district's advanced placement program. Enrolling in AP courses enables students to develop rigorous study habits and take on challenging coursework that mirrors what they might see in college. AP courses also help students build critical thinking skills, confidence, and the essential time management skills needed for college success. In addition, success in AP classes is valued in the college admission process and gives students the opportunity to earn college credit and save money. When students earn college credit through AP exams, their options and opportunities expand. They are able to move to upper-level college courses sooner, pursue a double major, and gain time to study and travel abroad. My absolute favorite part of serving as an AP coordinator is finding hidden potential. These are students that are more than capable of handling the challenge, but have never attempted it because they don't know about the program. I take pride in actively seeking these kids out. I first work on building up their confidence and then share the benefits of the AP program and explain why they should participate. It is close to my heart because I was one of these kids in high school. Had it not been for my 9th grade social studies teacher, I would have never pursued AP courses. Doing so was extremely beneficial, and as a result, I saved my parents' tuition money and started my college career with several credits under my belt. I love sharing my story with students, and I am proud to work in a district that promotes a rich AP program. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Did you know that CFB's AP program begins in middle school with our native speaker classes that have now expanded to 5 of our middle schools? In 2016, 61 grade 8 native speaking students earned college credit for their successful AP Spanish language exam. In 2017, that number jumped and increased to 100 students. Rebecca Ilescas, AP Spanish teacher at Perry Middle School, pioneered our middle school native speaker accelerated program. The success of these students rests on the leadership she continues to provide.
Good evening. I have been a school teacher for 28 years, 16 as an ESL teacher in California, 2 in CFB. But for the last 10 years, I have been a Spanish teacher here at CFB. 11 years ago, Perry and Field were the first middle schools that started teaching Spanish for native speakers. This accelerated pathway translates into pre-AP Level 3 classes in 7th grade and AP Spanish language classes in 8th grade. Some people believe that these students are too young to be taking an AP class, but every year these wonderful students surprise us. In the last 10 years, over 300 Perry students have taken the AP and an AP class and the AP exam, and 97% have successfully passed the class and the exam. What this really means is that more than 300 kids have entered high school with 4 high school credits and at least 5 Spanish college credits. Yes, college credits. These classes have given our native-speaking students a high dose of self-esteem and the confidence to start taking other AP classes while in high school. They were given the early assurance that college was their next pathway to success. Once in a while, I hear from some of them and feel very proud to find out that Spanish for native speaker classes at Perry contribute to their lifelong success. Every June, I go to Cincinnati to read and grade Spanish exams for the AP College Board. So I can see firsthand how to best teach my own students to be the successful learners that they deserve. This past June, while I was walking along the riverbank, I received a phone call from one of my ex-students. He had just broken up with a girlfriend of 5 years and was heartbroken. Did I have any advice? Oh, and by the way, in 6 months, he would be graduating from Texas A&M with a bachelor's in engineering. A few months ago, another student asked me to be his friend on Facebook, and the first post that I saw was him graduating from the University of Texas with a bachelor's in accounting. This month, he started his master's degree in accounting and is working as an intern at Price Waterhouse. In 1 year, he will finish his master's degree and will start working full-time for them. I have many more stories of students who have successfully completed their university education and many who are on their way. And like one student told me a year ago, the Spanish class honored my background and gave me academic confidence.
Thank you, Rebecca. Did you know that academic preparation for college entrance exams, the SAT and ACT, begin in middle school? Advanced Academics offers middle school students a 5-week program that is housed at Newman Smith High School. Advanced Academics also offers our high school campuses a flexible and no-charge SAT, ACT prep program. Did you know that for 15 consecutive years, CFB celebrates over 500 middle school students who participate in our UIL competition held each year in January? Over 200 volunteers from campuses, administration, and the community offer support to 20 academic competitions open to all students. Did you know that this year, 148 qualified grade 7 students will be invited to participate in a free SAT-ACT study class and then register to take the college entrance test as part of the Duke TIP program? Did you know that on January 27th, all 24 elementary campuses will participate in our academic Olympiad competitions held at R.L. Turner High School, with events that include oral reading, ready writing, spelling, geography, number sense, math problem solving, and STEM problem solving. Did you know that our Japanese students at Newman Smith in Creekview High School have a sister school in Japan and use social media to collaborate in real time? French students at Newman Smith High School video conference with 26 students in La Collège Balzac à Lausanne, Normandy. These same French students will be visiting CFB in April as part of an exchange. Another guest speaker tonight is Julia Gonzalez, our Spanish teacher at Blaylock. She will offer her personal story about the importance of multilingualism.
Good evening. As a second-year teacher in the World Language Department, I have to say that I am so impressed by the level of experience and knowledge of our middle and high school world language teachers, like Mrs. Illescas, who spoke earlier. While I'm new to the profession of teaching, I am not new to our school district. I worked at Creekview High School for about 10 years as a substitute teacher and then as an attendance clerk. I'm also the proud parent of 2 Creekview High School students. I have a love of Spanish that is rooted in several factors, most of which stem from growing up in the border town of El Paso, Texas, in a Spanish-speaking household while also maintaining close ties to extended family in Mexico. While teaching native Spanish speakers, I use my own experiences with them to demonstrate the benefit of maintaining their home language of Spanish as they navigate a mostly English-speaking world. The goal for these students is to cultivate their bilingual status by strengthening their Spanish with more academic language, critical thinking, and advanced reading and writing skills. It is exciting to me every day to have Spanish-only conversations in these classes, whether they are about the advantages and challenges of being a first-generation American in their families, or about the similarities and differences in the many Spanish-speaking cultures that are represented in our classrooms. While the academic goal for these kids is to take the Spanish AP test, my hope is to be able to motivate them at the same time to appreciate where they come from and to feel fortunate that they have a world of opportunity available to them if they embrace their language, their culture, and their heritage. The reason I am here today as a Spanish teacher is only because I was able to maintain my home language of Spanish and cultivate my bilingualism as I advanced my education and my career. As the year progresses, I hope to introduce my Spanish students to the various ways their knowledge and expertise in 2 languages will open a world of opportunity and contribute to a lifetime of happiness and success.
Thank you, Julia. Our final guest speaker tonight is Lamisa Mustafa. She is a recent graduate of Newman Smith High School. She was a lifelong CFB ISD student who attended Carrollton Elementary for pre-K, Good Elementary, and Perry Middle School. Lamisa's journey includes being selected for the Global Young Leaders 20 Under 20 program and being nominated for Carrollton's Volunteer of the Year award. Lamisa is now at Southern Methodist University as a first-year student in the Pre-Law Scholars and University Honors Program with a major in Human Rights and International Studies and a minor in French. She is currently working for the SMU Embry Human Rights Program as its community outreach intern.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Schafer. I would like to thank you all for having me. This feels like coming home, and I still proudly call Carrollton my home. I'm grateful for the work that all of you do for our community. So at Newman Smith, I was lucky enough to be in an environment that enriched my experiences as a student, but also as a person. I went into college with more than 40 credit hours, thanks to the AP classes and exams I'd taken at Smith. During class enrollment, I actually had trouble enrolling for the mandatory first-year courses because the system thought I was a sophomore. But this is good later this month when spring enrollment comes along, because I'll get early enrollment times and I'll get to choose classes that upperclassmen always take first. And having many credit hours done actually makes it more feasible for me to add different majors and minors, which is great for me as an indecisive person who loves everything. I believe I wouldn't be at SMU right now if not for my CFB foundation. I took a variety of courses that taught me how to ask tough questions and try to find their answers through thorough research, overcoming challenges, and constantly learning. By learning how to write effectively, I was better prepared for essays that I had to write for college applications. And by practicing for standardized tests like the SAT in class, my scores improved immeasurably. And SAT scores, even though they are only a reflection of one day, they're very important when it comes to really competitive and prestigious merit programs and scholarships. And thanks to my scores, I am not paying as much as I could be paying at SMU. Even something as simple as a list of classes I've taken is really important. When I was being interviewed to be a youth services volunteer at the library, the librarian was impressed by the AP courses I'd taken, and I'm pretty sure that's what made my interview stand out. I doubt that I'd be able to balance all of my responsibilities without the time management and organizational skills I learned through AP classes. My SMU classmates stare at my planner, but I'm wondering why they haven't realized the magic of organizing your day and checking off things you have done. I think AP and GT programs support students in learning about their place in our shared world. My personal journey was one that humbled me because I realized how much more I have yet to learn. Lastly, I would like to emphasize how important your work is right now. Investing more in education allows people to rise above their circumstances. And I truly appreciate what you're doing to let students like me know that they can embrace who they are and share their voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamisa. Students and parents discover the difference and actively choose CFB for gifted education. Tonight, we will preview a marketing video where our own students, parents, and teachers share their experiences with our gifted programming.
What really excites me about working with the gifted students is that they can take a passion that they already have, some interest area, and they can look at it from a different perspective.
I walk into that classroom every day and they soak up everything that I have to teach them. In addition, I can't teach them enough. They're such huge sponges.
The fact that they can move ahead through content and more quickly through content allows us to have more time to look into other things and things that they are interested in. So they're constantly moving forward.
I don't really realize that I'm surrounded by all of these intelligent people. You just kind of forget that you're gifted.
I was kind of squeezed up in a box at my old school. Now I can open myself up and learn new things.
We heard about it, so we sold our house and we actually moved to a Farmers Branch for this program. As a private school former parent, I know what private schools offer, and to see what a public school can do, it's a better education than my children got in a private school.
We're not in 1970-something or 80-something or even 2000. The ways people learn are different.
They actually took the time, invested the time into testing him and picking him out specifically. It really makes him push himself.
ACE gives me the opportunity to make a change in the world.
One of the things that we work especially hard at is the communication part of their ideas. It doesn't matter how much you know, you have to be able to communicate those ideas to others. So when we get finished with talking about a concept, we put it in writing, we talk to each other about it. they will be much more effective at communicating the things that they know versus just knowing a bunch of facts.
There's a global perspective to be had, so I think that helps them shaping them as they move on and they continue through their studies, that there's a great big world out there.
I think the Gifted program challenges those kids, motivates them, and brings them up to their potential.
And this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to our next agenda item, board members, do you have any questions, comments? Mr. Shackman?
Dr. Schafer, thank you so much to all of your advanced academics team. Having a son who was a leaper both at McCoy and Perry, what you do is amazing. Can you give us just a brief overview on how you identify kids?
We identify students holistically. That means that there is not one test or one item that either identifies a student as gifted or not gifted. It's a preponderance of evidence over 8 measures, which also includes an interview and, most importantly, a portfolio of work. We want to see what students are producing and how they are thinking. So we screen 100% of our students in grade 2 with COGAT. We're actually in the middle of that process right now. Every child has a chance to be gifted in CFB.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I can do it now, I can do it later. I think I'll do it now. Catherine, thank you for that very excellent presentation. And Vicki, Rebecca, and Julia, thank you for what you do. And Lamisa, there's a reason they saved you for last. Because when I hear things like that, that just makes my heart fill with such pride that, you know, our kids are doing stuff like that. So thank you, darling, and you just keep on keeping on, okay? Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is item number 3, recognition of our very special guests and announcements. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Members of the board and our audience tonight, you know, achievement doesn't happen without some very incredible people. We call them our very important professionals and our VIPs. So at this point, we're going to recognize some VIPs out there on our campuses that not only do they make every minute count, which we talked about this year, making sure that we concentrate getting the most out of every minute, they know that every student matters, every student counts, and that's why they're here tonight, to be recognized as VIPs. And so we're going to invite the audience, if your VIP is introduced and you want to stand to kind of recognize them for this accomplishment here tonight, we invite you to stand when your VIP is introduced. And Mr. Matthews, I'm going to invite you to the front with me as we begin our recognition of our very important professionals.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Burns. I'm Eva Miriam Walker, principal of Blanton Elementary, and I'm very proud to introduce to you our newest member in the very important professional of teaching, Liz DeVito. Selfless, hardworking, humble, and creative are some of the talents why Ms. DeVito was chosen as our VIP. But I am going to try and paint a picture of how her family, her school years, and caring teachers helped mold Ms. DeVito into the wonderful professional that she is today. Ms. DeVito was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, where she followed in her siblings' footsteps and became the 4th member of her family to graduate from the University of Dayton with a bachelor's degree in fine arts. Ms. DeVito has been an art teacher for 10 years, with the last 5 of those years teaching in Blanton Elementary. Ms. DeVito is married to her husband, Patrick, son, Paul, and soon to arrive, baby Anthony. Ms. DeVito's parents were loving and fun parents who instilled in her a strong faith, work ethic, and sense of humility. They worked very hard to make her believe that she could do anything she wanted to do. Her mom worked in food services in the University of Dayton to provide her children the opportunity to attend that institution. Ms. DeVito's dreams of becoming a teacher started at an early age when she would play school with her younger brother and sister. She admits to not always having a clear picture of what she wanted to teach, but being a teacher was never in question. She loved her elementary physical education teacher, so at that age, she thought she would teach PE. During her middle school years, when middle school girls can be hard to deal with, and she sometimes felt like she didn't quite fit in, she found Mrs. Guneris, her middle school language arts teacher. She was her homeroom teacher and became her mentor. She was there when she needed someone to talk to. Ms. DeVito fondly remembers Ms. Guneris corresponding with her even in her high school years. Due to her positive influence, she thought she might like to teach language arts when she was older. But by the end of high school, she had decided that her passion was art. She had a wonderful art teacher who, according to Ms. DeVito, and I'm quoting, all love and peace and painted overalls. Her art teacher inspired her even when Ms. DeVito didn't believe in her own artistic abilities. Another great influence in her life was Coach Dobson, her high school cross-country coach, who made her see that she was a leader and leaders don't always have to be loud or the center of attention. Ms. DeVito believes that every child deserves to be educated and have a well-rounded education. She strongly believes in the value of fine arts and athletics in addition to the core subject areas. During high school, her involvement in art club, cross-country, and track finally helped her feel she had found her place in school. Ms. DeVito sees the impact a teacher makes in the lives of students. She believes that what we do as teachers, especially elementary teachers, can really impact a child for the rest of their lives. She believes we are here to teach, but also to love them and help them build the confidence that they will need to be successful in their higher education. She feels that many times we get so busy and there are just so many things that pull at our attention, but she looks at her favorite quote by Pablo Casals, and she remembers what is most important about what she does and why she does it. Do you know what you are? You are a marvel. You are unique. There has never been another child like you. This quote encapsulates what she wants her students to know, that they are unique and special, and they deserve to feel that way. Please join us, our Blanton family, in honoring Liz DeVito as Blanton's latest member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews, Dr. Burns, and members of the board. I'm Robin Campbell, the proud principal at Bernice Chapman Freeman Elementary. What a joy it is to join you tonight to recognize Freeman's newest VIP, Abigail Gunn. In just 3 short years at Freeman, Abby has made a positive impact on not only the lives of many children in 3rd grade, but on the lives of the families and her colleagues. From the first time we interviewed Abby from her apartment in China, where she was teaching abroad, we knew she had the qualities we were looking for in a new team member. Abby's many unique talents and vibrant character traits are shown on a daily basis at Freeman. Last year, sharing her skills as a talented dancer, Abby worked after school with a group of 4th and 5th grade students to create a beautiful dance interpretive routine in honor of Black History Month. The students were proud to share their routine with our families, the students, and the residents at the assisted living centers in our school neighborhood. As a sports enthusiast and certified yoga instructor, Abby incorporates movement into her classroom environment daily to calm, focus, and relax the students in order to prepare their minds for learning. Abby's giving heart doesn't just stop with the students. She shares her passions with her colleagues and families. Along with another staff member and her mom, Abby works several Saturdays to organize, label, declutter, and inventory our math and science lab. Now the students and staff have a wonderful room to find materials, conduct experiments, and share in learning. This was no small undertaking, as this room had been a collection place for several years. Abby does a tremendous job preparing her students for academic and social learning. She puts her whole heart into the enormous responsibility of teaching and is a role model to those around her. As the third grade team leader, Abby keeps everyone informed and organized. Her team claims she has forms for even her forms, and she has lists for even her lists. Yes, her mom is proud. Third grade is a fine working team because of Abby's leadership. This year, Abby is once again challenging herself to take on new and exciting opportunities. Abby has been chosen to participate in the district's first Math Leadership Academy in Cohort 1. I cannot think of a better individual to help lead the work in math in our district. Abby has also volunteered to serve on our instructional rounds team and help forward our thinking at Freeman and other campuses in our network. On top of academics, Abby is joining forces with other staff members as an important member of Bernie's Stripe Squad. Yeah. Bernie is our tiger mascot, and he challenges our students to focus on character building. Every student is here to help you, Bernie, earn your tiger stripes. So as you can see, the students at Freeman are fortunate to have Abby as a teacher. The staff is lucky to have Abby on our team, and the parents are blessed to have their child in her care every day. Abby even invites parents to come to her classroom before school starts once a month so that she can teach the parents how to be better parents in teaching their children math at home. The turnout has been so positive. Dr. Burns and CFB family, it's my pleasure to recognize Abby Gunn as a VIP. She truly exemplifies every quality we could ask for in an educator to represent our great district. Personally and professionally, Abby demonstrates a passion for people and has a heart overflowing with love. We are also fortunate to have Abby Gunn at Freeman Elementary and is a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, Mr. Matthews, and members of the board. My name is Dee Dee Lacey, and I'm the proud principal at McLaughlin-Strickland. We're here tonight to introduce our newest member of the very important profession of teaching, Amy Marty. Tonight, her colleagues and her husband, Justin, are here for the recognition, and we're sending the video to her son, Orion, who is studying in college in Chicago. So Amy began her gritty journey with CFB 9 years ago as a substitute teacher. She knew then that her passion was working with young children. She became a pre-K assistant for 2 years at Sheffield. Then she joined McLaughlin-Strickland 2011-12 as a PPCD assistant while she worked on finishing her teaching degree. We saw so much potential in her that as soon as she was certified, the very next year, we hired her as first grade teacher, where she still continues to teach. And she models lifelong learning for her students. Miss Amy Marty was accepted this year to the master's program at SMU, where she continues her studying of early literacy. As you just saw earlier on the video, Miss Marty works with all of our students, but she's particularly gifted in differentiating lessons to meet the needs of each one, regardless at what level they begin. Amy has high expectations for all of her students, and they achieve to those high standards. When we walk in her classroom, we can hear the learning buzzing through the classroom in the discussions. Her colleagues describe her as caring, organized, innovative, a practical problem solver, and magnificent. She is always willing to lend a hand, be a thinking partner, or kindly show us how to use our technology. Her organizational skills are evident in her lessons, her data, her notes, and anytime we need anything, we can just say, Amy, do you have, and she has it. She has apps, programs, and digital resources that motivate students to be innovative as well and to make our work more efficient. Her ideas and are practical and ingenious, which is one reason that she's part of our instructional rounds, our instructional acceleration team, and several other things that move our work forward. The parents of her students agree with us that she is magnificent. Miss Marty always keeps us informed, they say. She makes learning fun, and she truly teaches our children to love learning. McLaughlin Strickland and CFB are indeed fortunate to have Miss Amy Marty as a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, members of the Board of Trustees, and all members of our CFB family. My name's Kelly O'Sullivan, and I'm proud to be the principal of Ted Polk Middle School. It's my honor to present to you the newest member in the very important profession of teaching, Miss Amanda Perez. Ms. Perez has been a member of the CFB family for 7 years, with her last 3 years as the Behavior Resource Specialist for the students at Polk. She began her teaching career at Field Middle School as a special education applied teacher. After 4 years of this specialized classroom, she became increasingly interested in the impact positive behaviors have on learning. Ms. Perez pursued her passion to become a behavior resource specialist. In this role, she works with a wide range of learners, including students who have significant academic, social, and emotional struggles. Ms. Perez states each student deserves one person who will never give up on them. She still remembers the moment she decided on her career as a teacher. In high school, she was given the opportunity to volunteer during the summer with special education students. This experience guided the direction of her life. She majored in education and special education at the University of North Texas. Ms. Perez's commitment to Polk students is evidenced through her relationships, creativity, in problem solving, and in empathy. She can be found moving all over the building with students, having conversations, problem solving, listening, and encouraging positive decisions all at the same time. Hopefully, she wears a Fitbit with all of the steps she gets in each and every day. You will see Ms. Perez with the newest addition to her family, her sweet baby boy Nico, right over there being rocked, at football games and basketball games, watching her students compete because she knows how much it means to them. You would think that Ms. Perez would be tired from giving 100% to our students at Polk every day, but she also finds a way to give that same effort to her colleagues. She coaches teachers on behavior techniques, assists in classrooms, and offers feedback. But wait, there's more. As our special education department manager, she organizes IEPs, caseloads, and resources. She does all of this with a smile and a caring personality. In speaking to a few of Ms. Perez's students, they quoted her saying, "You can do anything if you use your brain." One 8th grader said, "She has the best chairs in her office. They're just like my grandma's." One student's comment sums it up. "Ms. Perez is just a good person. She helps us with our work, she helps us with our problems, and she is just there whenever we need her." Ted Polk Middle School and CFB are fortunate to have Ms. Amanda Perez as a member of the very important profession of teaching.
Good evening, Dr. Burns and Mr. Matthews and members of the board. My name is Shashawn Campbell, and it is my pleasure to represent Thompson Elementary this evening. It is a privilege to introduce Ms. Jackie Schafer, our fabulous first grade teacher, to be. We are excited that she's here this evening to be recognized as the next member of the very important profession of teaching for Thompson. It is no surprise that Jackie Schafer is here tonight as our VIP. Ms. Schafer has been teaching for 21 years while completing 19 in CFB, all at Thompson Elementary. She is truly a cougar. Her love for our school permeates through everything she does, whether it's planning literacy night, creating incentives, flyers, leading her team, or just joining in brainstorming sessions to keep our school peaceful. She always puts our cougars first. Ms. Schafer teaches from her heart and is motivated by the children in her class. She lives by this quote, "It's okay not to be perfect. I just have to be good enough. But to us, you're perfect." The fact that Jackie's colleagues nominated her as our VIP this year shows how our team feels about her. Perhaps the words written directly by our staff say it best. She will take you under her wing, give you just enough to keep you going, at the same time keep you independent. She's a coach, mentor, advocate, a friend. For those reasons, I not only survived my first year teaching, but I loved it. She's a natural leader while tackling anything head-on. Our staff, students, and parents are truly fortunate to have Ms. Schafer represent our campus as our VIP. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Jackie Schafer as the Thompson VIP.
Mr. Matthews, members of the board, that concludes our VIP recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Okay, I'm gonna, excuse me. I'm good now. I'd just like to take a moment to emphasize to you five ladies what a big deal this is. It's a big deal to us. It's a big deal to the people in this room, and I hope it's a big deal to you, but it's also a big deal to the kids you work with every day. And the success of our district depends on what you do, what depends on what everybody does, but y'all are, you didn't just get handpicked out of a bag. You got here for a reason. You earned the right to be here tonight. I love elementary and middle school teachers the most. And if that upsets the high school folks, I'm sorry. I've never been an elementary teacher, but I've been a middle school and a high school teacher, so I know a little bit about that. But you people in elementary and middle school, y'all put the kids on third base when they get to high school. You've already, they've already got to first and second. They're ready to get home after y'all get through with them. So elementary and middle school people are just really special. Elizabeth, good luck with your baby. If you need some help getting out of here tonight, because we'll help you. We'll get you. Abby, I just want you to know that I too practice yoga. This is my best move. That's about the extent of mine. Amy, I'm going to need your autograph before you leave because I saw you on TV a while ago. Amanda, special ed teachers are my favorite. I'm sorry. If that upsets anybody, I'm sorry about that. and BRS teachers are a very special group there. Jackie, first grade, right? First grade teachers, I mean, you're in a league of your own, okay? First grade teachers are just a special breed of cat. Not everybody can do that, okay? But bottom line, thank you for what you do to help us achieve our goal of high achievement for each student. You deserve to be here, and we're glad you're here. Thank you. Okay, this concludes the recognition of special guests and announcements portion of the agenda. I'd like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that the board encourages comments from citizens of the district and from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so during agenda item number 4, audience for guests. You submit your request to do so on one of the forms outside on that table, and you can put the form there, or you can give the form to Ms. Scribner right over here at this table. And when we get to that agenda item, you will be called to the podium. And when you get there, you will state your name and address for the record. Now, at this time, we're going to take about a 10-minute recess. And I would certainly invite and encourage all of you to stick around for the rest of the board meeting. But just in case you got something else you need to do, I guess you can do it. So, we will be recessed. Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees is called back to order. The board will now address agenda item number 4, audience for guests. Audience for guests is a mechanism the board uses to receive feedback and input from our constituents. Comments should pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Our timekeeper, Mrs. Klein, will provide a hand signal as the end of your 3 minutes approaches.
Tell me what that hand signal looks like.
Can I tell you what the hand signal looks like? No, because I don't, it's your hand. I'm not the one. You show us what the hand signal is going to.
Let the beep beep go.
Okay. Anyway, Nancy will let you know when you're getting close to your 3 minutes, and when you get there, you're done. Thank you. Remember that the board may not discuss or act on any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board may defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. Ms. Scribner, are there any audience for guests this evening?
Yes, sir.
All righty. I have received these audience for guests. When I call your name, step to the podium, give your name and address, please. First one up would be, and if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. I normally don't mispronounce them, but I've been known to. First up will be Sonny Ringer.
Good evening. This is my first time doing this, so hopefully I can speak what I want in 3 minutes. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for giving us this opportunity to speak. I'm actually one of 3 people, actually one of 3 parents that's going to speak about the same issue. There's 2 more people following that would like to discuss a same issue, which is about a classroom size in a Mcdowell Elementary 2nd grade LEAP. LEAP is a part of a gifted program that Dr. Schafer talked about. And these are exceptional students that school district has identified. However, that classroom currently is too big. And 25 is beyond what the Texas law states, which is to 22 students per teacher. And as a parent, and actually there is a petition that everybody signed, that we are concerned that what's going to happen to our children. These are special kids who needs more attention than, I will say, just standard, all the children. And with the LEAP nature growing in size throughout the semester, it can be 29, 30 kids in a single classroom with 1 teacher by the time school semester ends. I do not think that's acceptable as a parent, because these are highly gifted children who can excel. They need an environment that they can flourish, and that just is not acceptable. And I'm asking the board as a solution, and not I, but parents of a second grade LEAP is asking the school board and the superintendent that we would like a full-time assistant teacher to assist the current teacher so that we can mitigate the situation farther. We don't want to divide the class, this is kind of too late to do that, but having a help so that when children have questions, those questions will be answered, not tabled later on. Do I have a time still? 1 more minute. Okay. We're asking full-time assistant teacher, and it's not only for this year. Through talking to other parents of the LEAP, we have learned that this is actually a repetitive issue that happens second year LEAP every year. So to us, it seems like a very logical solution to have a permanent assistant, because second grade is maybe a little too small for 2 classrooms, but it really is too big to have just one teacher handle it. Thank you. And we'll actually have a petition that's going to be read by another parents following. Anything else? Oh, I forgot to state my name. My name is Sunny Ringer. I reside in 3304 Hill Park Lane, Carrollton, Texas. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up will be Summerlin Gupta. Is that correct? Got it.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, Mr. Matthews, and members of the board. My name is Saurabh Gupta, address 7441 Primrose Drive, Irving, Texas, 75063. I will read the petition that Sunny just talked about. This is a petition that has been signed by most of the second grade LEAP parents from McCoy Elementary. So a full-time assistant teacher is needed for the second grade LEAP class at McCoy Elementary. Currently, there are 25 students with the possibility of more enrolled in the class with only one teacher assigned. According to Texas Education Code Statute 25.112, except as otherwise authorized by this section, a school district may not enroll more than 22 students in a kindergarten, first, second, third, or fourth grade class. LEAP children have been identified from Carrollton-Farmers branch independent school district as extremely gifted students who have unique and individual academic needs. These needs require more attention than that of a typical student. Prior to the beginning of 2017-2018 academic year, CFB ISD identified 25 LEAP students for the second grade class. However, the school chose to remain with only one teacher for the class. As parents of the second grade LEAP classroom, we have great concern about the number of gifted students assigned to a single teacher. This ratio is not only an extreme burden to the teacher, but it cannot provide the learning environment needed to enrich our special children. Having a qualified full-time assistant teacher would mitigate the burden to the teacher and provide a more reasonable student-teacher ratio, providing our children a nurturing environment to excel. In past years, second grade LEAP classrooms have often been too big for a single teacher, yet too small for two separate classrooms. A full-time assistant teacher can help resolve this problem in the future as well. That is the end of our petition. A copy of this petition will be submitted to the board and the school principal tomorrow morning. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Puneet Gupta.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm under the weather a little. So, my name is Puneet Gupta. I reside at 6862 Sonoma in Irving, Texas. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak in the forum that's allowed for residents and parents to share concerns. I want to start off by saying I appreciate your and the district's support and commitment to our students' educations. And, just the beginning of this whole session today was all about the achievements that our teachers and our students have had, and it really is a testament that the school district has for the success of our children, and I really appreciate that. Both my wife and I are products of public school, and we really support what it stands for, and we want it for our children. Something that we've looked at when we've chosen a school district is the opportunities that they may offer. And Carrollton-Farmers Branch by far offers a lot more different opportunities than a lot of school districts in town. One of those is the LEAP program, and we're fortunate to have our children enrolled in that. My son is in second grade there, and we are concerned about the school size or the class size of 25 for one teacher. And you can hear, we just heard the petition that Saurabh Gupta read as well. But we want to kind of emphasize our concerns and hope that you empathize with them as well. And we hope that you'll be willing to work with us to try to come up with a resolution to get back that classroom environment that we think our children deserve. Thank you.
Next up, John DeLorme.
Good evening, Dr. Burns and the Board of Trustees. My name is John DeLorme. I reside at 6643 De Leon Street, Irving, Texas, 75039. I'm also privileged to be the president of the Villas of Vecina Las Colinas Homeowner Association. We did have a National Night Out event on Tuesday of this week, and I do want to thank the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD, in particular Angela Shelley Brown in our communications department that came out to our event and gave out information concerning our school district. I too am a proud Texas native and public school graduate and strongly support public education. So I wanted to make sure that our neighborhood was well aware of our district, our performance, and the high academic programs that we do offer that benefits our students and also helps keep our property value strong in our neighborhood. So we do appreciate the district coming out. We're going to get an update from Ms. Tillman later on in the agenda on our transportation service. This is an issue for all Dallas County voters, if you live in Dallas County CFB, that's on the November ballot, the constitutional amendment election. If Dallas County Schools, the vendor that provides our bus service, is going to continue in operation or not. After researching this issue extensively, I'm voting to keep Dallas County Schools. We've never had a service problem with them, and it is our lowest cost option based on bids the district received from other vendors at our prior board meeting. I want what's best for our taxpayers and our kids, and keeping Dallas County Schools is, right now, best for CFB ISD. This is the least expensive option that we can do to provide this service. Every other thing we've looked at cost us more on the operations side. That means less revenue for teacher raises. We've got to give our teachers raises. We've got to get competitive in the market. We've got to meet our plan for 2020. And so keeping Dallas County Schools, providing our bus service, is not going to cost us more on the operations side. And if we go with another vendor, we don't know what that's going to do. Our estimates on the last bids, what, $2.5 million more. So I'm encouraging everyone in my neighborhood to vote to keep Dallas County Schools, to keep our service at the lowest competitive cost for our district and taxpayers. That'd save us money getting rid of Dallas County Schools. Thank you.
Next up, Bunny Summerlin.
I'm Bunny Summerlin at 4249 Oak Grove Drive in Carrollton. I am the parent of two grads from Newman Smith, grateful parent. But tonight I'm speaking about the idea of a welcome letter. I'm sorry, I forgot to address you. Sorry, Dr. Burns, board. When I joined the staff at MetroCrest Services, which it was MetroCrest Social Services, 17 years ago, I had the opportunity to work very closely with much of the staff and the administration at the CFB ISD, and I was immediately impressed with the care and respect that was evident toward each and every student. Throughout my 17 years there, that dedication to the well-being of all students was very evident. And although I am now retired and no longer able to touch those programs on a daily basis, I have every confidence that that long-standing, welcoming culture has not changed. A letter of welcome to students and families is a reaffirmation of a long-held district value, and I heartily endorse that, especially during these difficult times for so many parents and children in our district. Thank you.
Next up, Jan Mcdowell.
Good evening. My name is Jan Mcdowell. My address is 2904 Panorama Drive, Carrollton. I am also speaking about the welcome letter this evening. I'm a 38-year resident of Carrollton. Both my daughters attended Carrollton-Farmers Branch schools K through 12, and they are today both successful, professional, independent women that I'm very proud of. I'm very grateful for the education that they received in the district, and I believe that every student should have the opportunity to have that type of education. You know, tonight we started this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I really kind of paid attention to what we were saying as we said that. One of the things we said at the end was that this is one nation with liberty and justice for all. And I think that as a board, you have an opportunity this evening to take a big step to reaffirm and to make true what we say we are, one nation with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the Carrollton Community Movement Group. Do you have a speaker?
Thank you, Board. My name is Nolan Adams. I'm at 2304 Lakeland Drive here in Carrollton. I am acting as a representative of Carrollton Community Movement tonight. For those of you who aren't familiar with the organization, we formed roughly a year ago to promote minority involvement in politics, as well as address what we perceive as injustices, such as the 287G agreement that the city previously had with ICE. I'm here today to remind the board that we should strive to be welcoming, especially in an era where unwelcoming attitudes are promoted by state, local, and even federal governments. It's very important to remember that we are a city that is comprised of diversity, both in terms of nations, cultures, and race. We have the potential to create a city that is known for its diversity, where its diversity is promoted, it's marketable, it's appreciated, but instead we tend to, you know, as a government and, you know, at this point, possibly a school board, we tend to snub it out. It's not appropriate. People in 2017 are appreciative of diversity, and I think it's time for us to drop these negative attitudes, these, you know, preconceived notions about race. So when I filled out the form to speak tonight, standing there on the table next to it was this CFB ISD flyer. It says welcoming in about 50 languages. It says welcome. So I think we should maybe get this welcoming resolution passed and reassure the communities that are scared, that are stigmatized, that are afraid to come up with their concerns to administrations like your own. We should protect them. It's our duty to represent their interests and protect their rights and freedoms. We've forgotten Ellis Island. We've forgotten the plaque that sits below the Statue of Liberty. We've forgotten all of those we've historically oppressed to benefit ourselves. Let's finally take a step in the right direction and welcome the historically oppressed people of America. Thank you. I'm going to leave this here for the next person.
Well, you are the next person.
I don't think I need to be reminded, but can you read the card, please?
Nolan Adams on behalf of Jen Garcia.
Jen Garcia is one of our members who could not make it tonight. Her address is on the card. I'd prefer to leave it on the card if at all possible. She's a neighbor of mine that's been very active in our organization, and she has a concern about the funding for the soccer team in the CFB ISD district. According to her, they don't receive enough funding. The school board doesn't allow for enough fundraisers to be created as compared to both the basketball teams and the football teams. And I mean, I live right down the street from R.L. Turner. It wouldn't surprise me if that were true. I see the football games. I see the soccer practices. And I mean, their uniforms are looking kind of ratty, but they're doing very well in competitions. So maybe let's, equalize the funding, or at the very least consider adequately meeting their needs. Because right now, because of the political climate, many of their Latino members are claiming that this is an issue that's based in race, because soccer is perceived as oftentimes a Latino sport to many Americans. They're calling racism. And that, quite frankly, is understandable given the political climate. People are very, very concerned about stuff like that. And we need to, start addressing these things proactively and realize that maybe we should start to equalize the playing field, no pun intended. Let's take a look at the budget, compare it to the basketball team, compare it to the football team, and play around with some numbers. Thank you.
We already discussed that. Right. Okay, Mr. Adams, you're up again, but the topic, I believe you've already discussed in your first presentation about the welcoming.
Yes, sir. That was as a representative of Carrollton Community Movement. This time I'll be speaking on a personal level.
Okay.
I'll make it short, guys. Like I said before, these are issues that many of us don't experience because we're gifted with the graces of being white. Quite frankly, white privilege exists. We will never be able to comprehend what it feels like to be just a few shades darker. Never, period. We're looking at the world through different eyes. We are blessed. There are many people of color who have approached me and essentially said that when they walk into a room full of white people, they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel welcome by default. Only until they're approached and welcomed do they actually feel welcome. So it's our responsibility to make them feel welcome. All we have to do is pass this silly resolution and they'll feel welcome. It's not hard. Thank you.
Next up, Nolan Adams.
Is this on number 5?
Yep.
Okay, guys. So this is an issue that I found out about tonight, just an hour ago. So I'm not an expert, but I saw some things that were concerning. First off, allow me to explain to the room what this actually is. This is an agreement between the school board and JJAEP, which is the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program. So what this is essentially an agreement with the school district has with Juvenile Hall. Basically, when the Alternative Education Program, B. Salazar, does not adequately reform a student, or if the offense is significant enough to justify sending him to a juvenile justice center, this agreement is what gets him there. What we'd like to do is address some of the flaws, perceived flaws, in this agreement, one of which is listed in 5.1. The agreement is downloadable on the website under Agenda Packet. 5.1 requires the parents of the student to drive the student to school every morning. You're essentially punishing the parents for what their child has done. Why can't the school extend resources, bus services, to these students too? Not to mention the fact that we're paying anywhere from $80 to $100 per day per student to the Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program for each student we send there. You know, he was just talking about waste of money, fixing the budget, saving some funds, getting teachers more money. Maybe they can, dedicate the time and resources to preventing this student from, dedicating these acts or crimes or misbehavior or what have you. If they had a little more money, maybe their lives would be a little bit better. Maybe this is one way that we can fix this issue ahead of time, be proactive, instead of just punishing people and locking them up. You want to talk about the effects of incarceration on a child in the juvenile justice program? Let's talk about how he's significantly more likely to be incarcerated as an adult if he's incarcerated as a child. Let's talk about how he's significantly less likely to go to college if he's incarcerated as a child. Let's talk about the long-term generational impacts of childhood incarceration on students, because there's a lot of them. And you know what else? This is one of those programs that disproportionately affects people of color. Welcoming ordinance. Let's start getting proactive, getting ahead of these issues, and finally appreciating the diversity that Carrollton has. Thank you.
That's the last one, guys. I'm sorry. Next up, Sylvia Mazamura.
Dr. Burns, members of the board, my name is Sylvia Masueda, and I live at 2907 Staffordshire Drive in Carrollton, 75007. I have the honor of serving as president of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch Council PTA for this school year. Our goal this year matches the goal of the district, high achievement for each student. We believe that the involvement of our PTA leaders and our parents as PTA members contribute to this goal, and we look forward to developing events and information that ensure our parents are engaged with our schools. Council PTA kicked off the summer by presenting at the June Principal Academy, where we presented our campus principals with tools they can use to better partner with their PTA boards. Many of our local PTAs hosted or assisted with back-to-school family and staff events. Some of the examples would be Rosemead Elementary had a back-to-school bash in August. Furneaux Elementary had a back-to-school splash bash at Carrollton Rosemead Rainforest. R.L. Turner PTSA and Barbara Bush Middle School PTA hosted back-to-school meals for staff when teachers reported back to school this summer. Janie Stark provided a great and informative video on how to manage the drop-off and pickup line for new and existing parents. It really showcased the musical and dancing talents of some of their students and even some of their parents. Additionally, as part of our leadership development efforts, Council PTA leaders hosted officer and chair training in September, where 42 local campus leaders attended to learn more about their position on a PTA board. For parent education, Council PTA partnered with the district on a program titled Today's Drug Trends, Keeping a Step Ahead of Your Children. 42 people attended, and 8 of those utilized the provided Spanish interpretation. The next parent education event is 2 presentations of fighting stress with mindfulness. One is on October 12 at Laylac Middle School, and the other one is October 17 at Field Middle School, both at 6:30 p.m. Special recognition goes to Turner High School PTSA for receiving the National PTA School of Excellence Award for 2017 through 2019, recognizing their past and continued efforts on working with administration to improve communication with parents. Our next regular Council PTA meeting is on October 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the ESDC building, Texas Room, and the meeting is open to everyone. We look forward to a great year of partnering with the district on our collective goal of high achievement for each student. Thank you for your continued support of PTA.
Next up, Ms. Mary Lovell.
President Matthews, Superintendent Burns, members of the board, and the public, thank you. My name is Mary Lovell. I reside at 1307 Barrington Drive in Capel. Roughly 40 years ago, a group of parents discovered that some students were not having their needs met by CFB ISD. The parents didn't pack up and move. No, they organized, and CFB AGT, the Association for Gifted and Talented, was the result 40 years ago. Working collaboratively and sometimes not so collaboratively, the programs that Dr. Schafer described have been the result. I was honored to serve as president for 3 years and continue to serve on the board. I can testify to the difference meeting the needs of these children has made. CFB AGT also collaborates with like-minded organizations such as Council PTA. And on October 26th, we're sponsoring with the district and Council PTA a program about the high school options provided for our children in collaboration with the district. High school in CFB is not limited by your attendance zone. And to some of my friends, that is very, very surprising to hear. So our goal is to educate our late kind of intermediate, elementary, like the 5th grade parents and our middle school parents about what options really exist for their kids. CFB is also on the parent network as a place to consider when parents are looking for a school, whether it's private or public, to meet the needs of their children if they suspect their children are gifted. My daughter's LEAP class was a melting pot of diverse students, both in their ethnic background, their socioeconomics, and their family situations. I've been told these children would have succeeded without programs like LEAP or ACE. But then I recall the story of the girl who sat on her hands. One night, a kindergarten student told her dad that he didn't need to worry about her anymore because she solved her problem at school. Yes, she continued, I've decided to sit on my hands. Then I won't have to raise them when my teacher asks a question, and then she won't call on me, and then I will have friends on the playground. These programs are needed for our kids. They're a little bit different. Some are quirky, some are twice exceptional, with needs as being on the autism spectrum and profoundly gifted. The girl did enter 1st grade LEAP that fall, and after that all-important first day, she came home and jumped off the bus. She proclaimed it wonderful. Daddy, she exclaimed, everybody raises their hands. It's wonderful. So thank you.
Next up, Julio Acosta.
Good evening. My name is Julio Acosta. I live at 1644 Blackstone Drive. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you to all the teachers and all the people involved in education, because you are all incredibly important. I do constantly remind Don Huffines and Matt Rinaldi and others how important a quality public education is every chance I get. I am a volunteer with Faith in Texas. We are a multi-ethnic, multi-faith organization that uplifts and works on issues like education, criminal justice reform, immigration, predatory lending, and other social justice causes. I actually went to McLaughlin Elementary on Fike from 2nd to 5th grade. We are the Tigers, McLaughlin Tigers. We have spirit, we have energy. I don't know if that's still the same fight song, but that's what it was back then. I actually went to New Smith High School from 1999 and graduated from there in 2003, and I still live in Carrollton. I come to you today, the first thing I wanted to mention is regarding point number 9 on the agenda, where it says consider resolution authorizing the superintendent of schools to request an exception to Texas education code where the class size is 22 students for classes grades K through 4. My sister is a teacher, and I constantly hear firsthand how incredibly important class size is. Those teachers, I'm sure, and I would not want to have more than 22 students in a class, especially kindergartners. 22 students in a class. She's a kindergarten teacher, that's why I know a little bit more about kindergarten. I also am a little bit concerned about the JJAEP MOU, but I'll have to research that more and we'll get back to you guys on that one. And I did give my information to them because I do want to help as much as possible to be a mentor and to help as much as I can with different people that I've met and different organizations that I work with. Okay, so I also come to you today to explain why the welcoming affirmation or welcoming proclamation is necessary. Currently, we live in an environment that is increasingly anti-different. In front of the Texas House hearing regarding SB4, the law known as SB4, a pediatric psychologist from Texas Children's Hospital testified and tried to educate our elected officials on how detrimental to children's mental health and to children's health SB4 would be, because she explained how the stress and the fear that children are increasingly feeling will affect these children well through. Oh, is that time? Sorry, is that time? No, now it is. Oh, sorry. Oh, well, then pretty much, thank you guys very much. And basically, there was more, but sorry. Thank you.
Next up is Jennifer, and I'm afraid I cannot read your last name, but I bet you know it. Come on up. Mhm.
Let me see here. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Fukudo, and I reside at 18175 Midway Road, Dallas, Texas 75287. Well, good evening, board and Dr. Burns, everyone here. First, I would like to thank all of you for the wonderful meeting last month and the discourse that occurred, even though it was clear that the tensions might have been a little bit high. And it is so great to see that everyone up here tonight not only feels passionately about making the school district the best it could be, and even when it was clear that you disagreed, you still were very polite to each other, and I feel that this civility is sorely lacking in other sections of our government at the very moment. Unfortunately, there was some troubling rhetoric last meeting regarding diversity, and I feel the board has lost sight of why diversity is important to have in its leadership. It is not about the visual photo ops or our progress. Your diverse member of the board do not represent tokens or trophy of what might seem like the district's part of combating racism or other forms of discrimination. The reason we want a diverse board is because our school district is diverse. Your minority members of the board are here to help the board do a better job serving the students that they have in the district at the present moment. They have been approached by parents that represent the majority of your students and the concerns that they have. So they don't do this because it's a political move. The welcoming affirmation was born from them listening to these parents and students of the community who in the past have felt that they would not have a welcoming ear for their concerns. And so basically what I'm looking for is that you would rather than challenging them, treat these members of the boards as the assets that they are. Thank them for bringing these concerns, because I have worked with students in the CFB ISD district. Sorry, that was repetitive. And I have experience working with these types of populations. And just because you haven't heard that the students are afraid doesn't mean that the problem doesn't exist. So this is your chance of telling the many students in your district that you hear them and that you care about them. So please vote yes for the welcoming resolution tonight. Thank you very much.
And our final speaker, Austin, I can't read your last name, Sora?
Hi, my name is Austin Stroh. I reside at 2119 Via Strada, that is in Carrollton. I would like to thank the board, first of all, for allowing me to speak my mind, share my thoughts on a few matters. And the one thing that keeps going around tonight is the idea of class sizes and the impact that they have. As a father of 3 special needs children, I can tell you that there are a large numbers of families that are impacted by allowing the class size to go up by only a few. Our 12-year-old started out, had problems staying in daycare programs. He had problems staying in kindergarten classes. And when he went to 1st grade, we kept hearing that it's too much for the teacher to handle. That if they would have had additional resources, we eventually did go through the IEP, all the additional special education plans. Fortunately, Country Place is fairly accommodating. Unfortunately, they had some positions that turnover kind of bit us a little bit in the rear end. But that is a key component to where I fear that our child may have been at risk for not fitting in with society, that they may have been one of the individuals that over a period of time that would be going to JJAEP. And that is not a stretch. That is something his mom and I had discussed. That we keep thinking about school and we keep thinking about progress being made, and it's just like, you know what, our real worry here is not that he's not going to make the grades, but he's not going to make it behavior-wise. Along with that, special needs children are not the only one at risk. You have socioeconomically challenged individuals where classroom size is the only thing that's going to help them get caught up. And I mean, gifted or challenged in one way or another. You also have English as a second language student, where they're going to need some additional attention. They're going to need some additional resources who are bilingual. And having classroom sizes allowed to go up at all is going to be hugely detrimental in those individuals' future. If we want to just look at it from a dollars and cents perspective, what would be the costs for 2 children to go from general schooling to being in JJAEP? Well, you can calculate it out $100 a day, but once they're 18, once they're 21, it starts becoming hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So please be aware of how detrimental it really is to allow classroom sizes to expand. Thank you.
That concludes our audience for guests. Do we have Yes, ma'am.
I had one late arrival.
Okay. Sure. Oh, okay.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Excuse me. Isaac Hernandez.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
My address is on there. Do you still want me to say it, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 1100 Vandergriff, apartment 1120, Carrollton, Texas, 75006. Good evening, Dr. Burns and CFB ISD Board. I'm going to read this off my phone. I wrote it out just so that I don't miss any points. I would like to echo what Nolan and others were addressing in your part of the welcoming the community. I think it's a marvelous idea to reinforce that this district provides just a welcoming atmosphere, and I just think that if we reinforce that idea and, you know, send out a letter or just maybe had an event or something, I think that people would really appreciate that, again, because of the times that we live in and things that are happening. There have been incidents in the city where people have felt possibly like the immigrant community did not feel welcomed, or maybe somebody just did not speak a certain language, and maybe they felt, you know, inadequate to communicate, and so maybe they just feel like they don't belong, and so it would be good to just reinforce the idea that they belong and we want them here. I would also want to make it a point just to say that you know, again, just a lot of people in the immigrant community don't really feel welcomed, and if we address the issue, that would help them just tremendously. I want to transition now and talk about the issue, and I see that you guys don't really have much of an option. I was reading the paper, and it was just saying that you guys have to provide education for kids that are expelled, and you guys have to just provide something for them. And I'm familiar with JJAEP, the Dallas campus, and the way that they run things. And I want to suggest that if you guys are going that direction, that's something that you're doing, I would suggest just providing transportation to the students and that being mandatory. When I was in DISD, I went to Atwell Middle School and I was in the academy program. I walked to school because I got kicked off the bus, right, for doing something that maybe all kids do. I don't remember. Maybe I spit out the window and the bus driver said not to or something. I got kicked off the bus. My brother got kicked off the bus for being my brother. I had to walk to school, and it was a rough neighborhood. I got my backpack stolen. I got jumped by some kids. I got brass knuckles pulled out on me, and that was just the result of having to walk to school. And so I just think that, and that was just me being in the academy program, then I got kicked out, and I walked to school because my parents couldn't provide transportation because of work. Again, my brother was kicked off also just for being my brother. And eventually I did go to alternative school, right, for getting into mischief. And in alternative school, I just have like a couple more sentences and I'll be done. Is that okay? I hear the timer going off. In alternative school, they provided bus passes for us, but what I saw personally was that, you know, when the parents don't take the kids to school and then you give them the bus pass and they just roam the city. I went to school, I finished my 30 days, right? Other kids, I saw that they didn't get on the bus, or they got on the bus and they went to another train station, another school. It just caused more problems. I think if you guys provided the transportation and made sure that they got there and made sure they were there, that would solve a lot of issues. And I think that there's more things that we can do for our youth. In Garland, I mentored kids myself, and I helped the Garland Police Department, and we mentored kids that just needed somebody to talk to them. I mentored adult offenders and people like that. And if that was something that you guys wanted to move forward with, if you guys wanted to look into some kind of program where, you know, we just meet with kids that are at risk, meet with their families, I mean, my phone number is on that sheet, and I would love to do something like that in my city. Again, these are just my opinions and my ideas, but thank you.
Thank you. We will now proceed to our next agenda item, which is item number 5, consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism that the board uses to approve a number of routine items together with a single vote. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes the list of all consent agenda items, and the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, board members may request withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. Board members, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda at this time? Hearing none and seeing none, board members, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Excuse me.
Mr. Fleming.
Yeah, let's pull item number F and kind of explain that a little bit for us in detail. Item number F and,
Okay. 5F.
5F, and then, I think that's it. Explain this process of JJEAP.
You want to pull that one and then we'll...
Yes, good.
Okay.
Sorry about that, jumped the gun.
Now do I have a motion? Ms. McLean,
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus F.
have a motion from Ms. Klein to approve the consent agenda minus 5F. Do I have a second? Have a second from Ms. Valenzuela. All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Fleming.
Dr. Burns, could you explain the process for the JJAEP?
Yes, I'll give you a little insight of that. We're in 2 counties, Dallas and Denton.
Yes.
We already executed the Dallas MOU last time. This is the Denton one. Ms. Bailey, I believe, is the one they worked with on this, so she can probably give you a little detail on how many and what we do, but that this is a part of our providing that service for JJAP at the 2 counties. So, Ms. Bailey.
Live in Denton County.
Right.
The majority of our students live in Dallas County, and they attend the Dallas County JJAP if they have infractions that warrant attendance at those campuses.
So how long does a student stay in that program?
Well, it really just depends on the infraction. It depends on the whole situation. We have fewer and fewer numbers each year attending because the rules have changed as far as what infractions would warrant attendance at one of those campuses.
Gotcha. Thanks. I'm good.
So I have a question. So what exactly is a memorandum of understanding?
It's just agreement between the 2 parties,
Okay.
what they provide and what we accept to provide under the law, which requires us to have a JJEP option. And so Denton and Dallas County both provide an MOU of what services they're going to provide.
As a governing body, do we have any control over whether a JJAP exists or whether or not we are required to have an?
I don't believe you have any control over whether it exists or not, because it exists out of law. We have some agreement that we go back and forth with on what we believe is acceptable, and Ms. Bailey sits on that. She does give feedback, and they give feedback, and we give feedback back until we can get to what we believe is a good for the district, for a memorandum, and then we bring it to you.
Any other questions, comments, board members? Okay, if there are no other items to be removed, do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda as amended?
We voted on that. You need to.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes, sir.
do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Or,
5F.
Just
5F, I'm sorry, yeah, I'll be there, I'm okay. 5F.
This is just specifically Denton County.
Yes,
It's-
this is,
it's-
Dallas was approved.
Dallas has
It
already
was
been
done-
approved. This is Denton
Was that in
County.
June?
Yes, ma'am.
I would make a motion to approve 5F.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Klein to approve 5F. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Robachik. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Discussion.
Oh, pardon me. Do we have any discussion, board members?
Do we know what percentage are people that we have, quote, sent or, because isn't a significant number of this in an environment where there's an offender and we are providing the education through that service, but we really aren't involved in placement of
Delivering
them?
them there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm asking
Okay,
that.
I can help clarify. How many of them are there because they committed a crime? They did something somewhere other than the school district?
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, the rules, and the rules are really stringent, very stringent. So some of the students who attend did commit offenses outside of the schools. But I don't know the exact percentage, but I can find that out for you. But,
So the numbers are available on the TEA website. In fact, every school district in the state has to submit this data to the TEA website. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's less than a handful.
right,
For Denton County?
Literally.
Yes, less than.
Less than a handful.
right.
I mean, the numbers are small because the rules are so stringent. The offenses have to be, I don't know if egregious is the wrong word, but they have to be on the level of endangering the students. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
You're correct.
You're right.
And we do everything we can for the persistent misbehaviors to keep them from going there. These would be ones that there was no option.
Right, and I think I'm right in saying if we don't have this memorandum and this option's there, these kids are going to be there anyway, but they would then lose out on the educational component that we help provide.
Well, we do provide transportation to Dallas. So it's the Denton County. So all of the services that we provide, we keep in touch. Debbie Milliken makes trips down to Denton County, Dallas County, as well as Denton County to visit the students while they're attending there.
Mr. Ramos?
Is the MOU that we're executing, I mean, I'm familiar with the ones, I've read the one that we're moving forward with, or we're asking the board to move forward with. Is it pretty consistent with other school districts in Denton County?
Yes, it's
Okay.
the same thing. There's a whole group of, all of the schools in Denton County have the same agreement with
Okay.
Denton County, JJ.
Any other discussion, board member?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fleming?
Already did.
Oh, you did?
And Tara seconded.
Were you in the
All right.
discussion?
Looks like I'm just talking then. That's all right, all right. I slept a little bit, I'm sorry, I woke up.
Okay. We've already had a motion and a second and discussion. So now we will vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous. Thank you. Our next agenda item is number 6, consider approval of minutes of Board of Trustees pre-meeting briefing held September 7th, 2017. Board members, this item is marked for action. Do I have a motion regarding this item? Ms. Valenzuela.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees pre-meeting briefing held September 7th, 2017.
Have a motion from Ms. Valenzuela. Do I have a second? Have a second from Mr. Shackman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. That vote is unanimous. Our next agenda item is number 7, consider approval of minutes of Board of Trustees regular meeting held September 7th, 2017. Board members, this item is also marked for action. Do I have a motion regarding this item? Mr. Shackman.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the Board of Trustees regular meeting, September 7, 2017.
Have a motion from Mr. Shackman. Do I have a second? Have a second from Ms. Klein. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. That vote is unanimous. Our next agenda item is number 8. Consider acceptance of financial reports and approval of proposed budget amendments for 2017-2018. Dr. Burns, does administration have additional comments?
We
before the
do,
board?
Mr. Matthews, and members of the board, and I'm glad many stayed around to hear kind of some more information regarding the waiver piece, and so we're going to talk financially what we're going to do, and then we'll talk the mechanisms that the state requires us to do regarding the waiver process, and I think you'll just be a little bit more informed about where we are as a district, and I think you'll be pleased with the direction that we're headed in, and the direction that the board's given us from the past, as well as the support of the community to be able to provide some resources to address class size. So, Ms. Tillman?
Yes, thank you. One of the goals that we established as we were working towards the passage of our tax ratification election was to strive for no waivers. And so the past 2 years, as we've prepared our budget and staffing allocations, we've staffed for no waivers, meaning that we go through and look at each student and assume that they're going to come to us the next year, and we make sure we have staff in place for those students. We also look at areas where we're experiencing growth and look to see that we can accommodate that growth. In addition, within the budget, we always include contingency units so that in early September, before we have our first board meeting, if there's a need to add support, whether it be in the form of an aide, additional substitutes, or a teacher, if we're able to locate one, we can go ahead and add those units. This evening, this budget amendment is budget amendment number 1 for 2017-18, and it includes the addition of 14 units to be able to offset our current projected waivers. We currently only have 8 over that Mr. Coleman will be talking about shortly. So we do have some 5th grade classroom that have numbers in excess of 24 that we have concerns about. And so we want to address those as well. Even though there's no legal requirements on those classes, we feel like those numbers need to be addressed. So with these 14 units, along with the 9 that we already have budgeted, we'll have the resources available to obtain no waivers, so long as we can find staff that meet the criteria that we want for our students. This is just a challenging time of year to locate those staff members, but we are out even as early as today with staff looking and trying to find teachers that we feel like we would want to put in our classrooms. In addition to the budget amendment, there are 2 other items that are our standard financial reports, including our monthly investment and tax reports. So we would ask that you consider approving the budget amendment and financial reports as presented.
Okay. Board member, yes.
Motion that we accept the budget amendment and finance reports as presented.
Have a motion from Mr. Shackman. Have a second from Mr. Ramos. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous.
Item 10. I'm waiting for you to read item 9.
Yes, I'm going to. Our next agenda item is item number 9. Consider a resolution authorizing the superintendent of schools to request an exception to Texas Education Code 25.112D, class size 22 students per class for grades K through 4. Dr. Burns, are there any comments or information to add before the board members consider action?
Yes, Mr. Matthews, members of the board. The item you just approved and this one are kind of tandem partners with each other. And so you may be asking, why are we asking for waivers if we just approve the money to accommodate that resource? And it's more of a legal obligation we have if we're unable to find or locate. And so I'll let Mr. Coleman, I believe Dr. Coleman's going to talk a little bit more about the process. But our goal is not to have those, but we do have a process in case we're unable to fill. Dr. Coleman.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say that I think everybody on the staff here agrees with most, if not all, of the comments and concerns that were expressed about having class waivers, and that's why we are determined not to have any. If you will notice, I just distributed to you an amended class waiver report, and in fact, the number has already gone down from when I originally prepared this report from 14, and now it's down to 10. And our goal is to get that number down to 0 as soon as absolutely possible. You've heard Dr. Burns and Tanya both mention that we have recruiters who have boots on the ground as we speak, and we're working daily, the team of us, to find teachers to meet this class size limits. I think most of the people listening would agree that a student is better off being in a classroom with 24 students and a great teacher than being in a class with 22 students and a poor teacher. And we have been determined to only recruit the best teachers. And we have the money for it, and we have the plan to recruit the teachers, and we're determined to find them. And we hope to report to you very soon that there are no class waivers. But we are required to make this report by law because of a snapshot in time when we simply did not have enough teachers. And so this is a required report. We are going to report monthly, and as we've said, we hope the number will be 0 the next time.
Yeah, and if I can add to Dr. Coleman's comment too, he said it exactly the way with our intention. In the interim, if we can't find, we will consider helping out with aides and things like that. We do that now, calling in subs, so we'll have help, but we believe it's better to find the right person than to just be in that compliance. And so as Dr. Coleman said, we're going to be diligent to find them, but we're also going to be sensitive to the circumstances that they're currently in. And if that requires some extra help in terms of substitutes, then we'll let the campus principal tell us how best to serve them. So we've got a game plan either way, but we feel like we have to have this in the event that we are unable to locate the teachers. We need to be in compliance with the law. So, Ms. Tillman?
I did just want to add also that the principals are very involved in this process, and in certain situations, the principal will choose to wait until semester so that we can get a December graduate, and we honor our principals' requests and thoughts on this process. If they have requested that we hold off, we do provide the funds for them to bring in the resources they need. I know that educational services staff have been going out to some of our classes where there are 25 and providing that support throughout the week based upon conversations with the principals, as well as hiring long-term substitutes and adding aides where it's needed. So we have multiple strategies, and they may not all result in 0 waivers, but if it is waivers, it's because we can't find a qualified teacher or the principal has chosen to wait. So we wanted to add that information, and also that we like to erase some things from our memory, but in our not too distant past, we had 77 waivers. So 8 is a certain improvement from where we're at a couple of years back.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Klein?
I'm curious on the table if you could explain what the M's are versus the BIL.
Monolingual and bilingual.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah. 1 million and 1 billion.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought it was. I don't know.
Well, and I should learn from Mr. Shore. He never asked a question he didn't know the answer to, but I just asked one I didn't know the answer to.
Very good.
And Ms. Klein, I'd just like to also let you know that most these waivers that are requested, all of them are classes with just 23 students in it. I think one may have 24 students in it. So we're talking about maybe 11 students total who are in classes that have more than 22.
This waiver isn't just just to clarify, this waiver isn't a blanket for every single classroom. It's just for 10 particular classrooms right now.
Yes.
And we're not even sure if we necessarily need it. We are just doing this to make sure that we have the resources.
Well, we're required to make this report at this time because the classes are 23 students. But our intention is to hire teachers to bring it into the limit.
Isn't it significant to point out, isn't attendance up?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Well, we attendance, we hope from day to day is up.
Yeah.
But we are ahead of our projection from last year.
So it frankly isn't surprising that we've run into a little bit of this issue, and I think the staff has done a pretty terrific job of getting us down to where we only have 2 classes or 10 classes that have this kind of a challenge.
And thank you for saying that, Mr. Schafer. And if we were able and the applicant pool was deep out there, we probably wouldn't have this many. We already moved on them, but we just feel like it's better to be diligent and find the right person than to just do it because you have the resources, so to speak, or the allocation. We want to find the right person, not just fill it because we have the resource to fill it. So thank you for saying it.
And Dr. Burns, isn't the attendance / enrollment snapshot done in October? Has it been done yet, or will it be
No,
done?
it'll be in October, but as Dr. Coleman said, we're required to apply for the waiver
Right.
with a timeline. Even though we intend to fill, if we're not in compliance by then, we'll have to fill
But
out the waiver.
October is the month. This
Yeah,
has to be obtained.
it's our normal snapshot date. It's October, the last Friday in October.
Last Friday. Okay. Any other discussions or questions? Ms. Klein?
I would also observe as a parent of students that were in our school district, when you have to split a class, I'm sure the principals can agree, there's a lot of, parents want to have the best teacher. And so you want to have 2 good teachers that you can justify and explain. They don't want, and a new graduate might be able to be explained, but there's a lot of, it's better, I think, even sometimes to wait till a break to split the class because the kids get kind of traumatized. So I think the way y'all do it usually works better.
Well, is there a minimum number of students at which you send an aide in? So does that automatically happen at 23 or?
It's really based on the principal's input and their particular needs at that campus. They will reach out to Ms. Smith and they'll discuss options. But it's very, very much based on the students and their needs at that campus.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Okay, this item is marked for action. Do I have a motion regarding this item? Ms. Klein?
Mr. Matthews, I would make a motion to approve item number 9, a resolution authorizing the superintendent of schools to request an exception to Texas Education Code Section 25.112. But I would also just encourage the audience to read the steps to bring the district in compliance and timeline for completion. I think we're doing everything we can with what we found we had.
I have a motion from Ms. Klein. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Ramos. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. That vote is unanimous. Any discussion? Okay. We will now go to agenda item, where am I? Yes,
10.
agenda item 10. Administration will now provide a report on student transportation in Dallas County Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Members of the board, as you heard earlier from audience for guests, the Dallas County transportation is an issue that's been out there for a while. I don't know that we have a whole lot of new information for you or for the audience, but we did want to kind of let you know where we think we are and what might be the situation, but obviously there's some things we don't know yet. But Ms. Tillman and her team have been working diligently, even a year ago, really, in looking at what might happen if Dallas County were to go away. And so she's going to just kind of give you a summary of where we think we are on this, and then what maybe, again, as we know more after the November election, what might be an option for the board, but we really won't know everything until that day. But Ms. Tillman does have some information to share with you, so. Ms. Tillman?
Thank you. What we do know right now is that on November 7th, the future of Dallas County Schools will be determined by the voters. Unless the continuation of the organization is approved by the majority of the voters, DCS will be dissolved. Written into the law are the following specifications. On November 15th, the Board of Trustees and CEO will cease to exist. Not later than November 15th, a Dissolution Committee will be formed that will be responsible for all financial decisions, including asset distribution and payment of all debt obligations. The Dissolution Committee will be appointed by the Comptroller. It will include the following members: 1 financial advisor, the superintendent or designee of each participating school district, 1 CPA, 1 auditor, 1 bond council member, and 1 additional representative appointed by the Commissioner of Education. Members of the committee may not receive any compensation. They may be reimbursed for travel expenses to meetings. The committee's charge will be to continue providing transportation services to all participating districts for the 2017-18 school year. The committee shall maintain current operations and personnel needed to provide the transportation services. At the end of the 2017-18 school year, all school buses, vehicles, bus service centers, and any other asset shall be transferred to participating districts. Final distribution of these assets will be not later than September 1, 2018, at no cost to the districts. The Dissolution Committee may employ 1 person to assist in the abolishment of DCS for 2017-18. The ad valorem tax assessed shall continue to be assessed by the county for the purpose of paying the bonds. So the tax rate will continue for the life of the bonds that have currently been issued by DCS. So the abolishment of DCS will not end the tax rate. And this committee will be charged with continuing to make those payments through a similar debt service type fund arrangement until the life of the bonds are paid off. Last week, we participated in a meeting with other school districts to begin work on a plan in the event that the election does result in the dissolution occurring for DCS. We'll have to take steps beginning the next day after the election based on the fact that on November 15, there will be no CEO in place for Dallas County Schools. One of our biggest concerns is the exit of staff that may occur with the result of the election. We're not so much worried about our service center employees. We're worried more about the business office and the folks handling payroll and those other items, potentially seeking employment elsewhere. In particular, as the year plays on from November to the end of the year, we feel like April and May will become very critical in terms of operations as they know the end of their employment will be nearing. The first meeting of the Dissolution Committee will occur on November 13th. Where we would potentially elect a CEO, as well as canvass the election. With all that being said, our goal is to ensure a smooth transition to whatever happens for 18-19 and uninterrupted transportation services for our students. Last year, in anticipation of a potential shutdown, we issued an RFP that yielded minimal results. We had 3 vendors respond, DCS being one of those vendors, with only 1 other vendor providing pricing. One vendor said they could not provide pricing, we would have to negotiate that. The only other vendor that provided pricing bid came in at almost $2.6 million higher than Dallas County Schools. This is without any consideration of our current bus fleet or any funds needed to continue to make improvements to that fleet. So that's strictly operating costs. We've developed a new procurement schedule and plan to issue another RFP for our 2018-19 services. That RFP will be issued October 10th with responses due back November 8th. We would present the results of the new RFP at the December board meeting, along with a recommendation for 2018-19. We believe it's in the best interest of the district to have direction in December that staff on both sides know what's going to happen in 18-19. For CFB, we've been very fortunate to have the committed Dallas County Schools staff members at our service centers. As a side note, the area director for our service center is an R.L. Turner graduate. He also had students in our system. He spent 21 years dedicated to CFB, either as a CFB employee or a Dallas County Schools employee. And so I feel like that's one of the key ingredients that has caused us to have the service level that we've been able to obtain throughout all of this process. Our service center folks have been working 12 to 14-hour shifts to make sure our students make it where they need to go. We had 14 openings on the first day of school. We still have 12 openings as of today. Our typical average is around 8. We do have 15 substitute drivers as well as standby drivers. In the event that all of our substitutes are out, we then send our dispatchers, maintenance crews, and anybody else that has their license within the service center office. Besides transportation services, DCS also provides the district with 3 SROs. The way the law is written, it does not appear that these services can continue beyond November 15th. The law specifically says that the Dissolution Committee can continue transportation services. Our staff is currently looking at ways that we can continue to provide that service with the current officers that are working at our campuses. So to summarize this all up, the way the legislation ended up in its final form was this mid-year dissolution requirement, which puts the school district participating in DCS in a position to potentially be unable to maintain our current services. We are going to do as much as we can to avoid any interruptions, but there are many things that are outside of our control at this point. We're going to end on a positive note because we do believe we are in better shape than other districts participating with DCS. We own our own service center, which is critical to operations. Many of the school districts are sharing service centers, so we actually have our own service center with our own mechanical bays, with our own places to gas the buses up, work on the buses, maintain supplies for the buses. So that puts us at a great advantage. And then I think our biggest advantage are our DCS employees that actually have worked for so long for our students, including our area director. And he feels very good about finishing out 17-18, and he thinks we'll be fine moving forward. But they're certainly ready to for the school district to make some decisions. So at this point, we'd like to open it up to questions. We'll add one more thing that is an immediate concern of the district is our bus fleet. We currently have 132 buses that are assigned to CFB, meaning they come in and out of our service center and they're utilized for our transportation that Dallas County School owns. In accordance with the agreement or the law, it appears that those buses would be transferred to CFB. Out of those buses, 35 of those buses are currently 2003 model or older. So they're basically at or beyond their useful life. Out of those 35, only 10 run routes every day. The remainder are used as substitute buses, either when a bus breaks down or when mechanical work needs to be performed, or if we have more field trips come out during the regular route times, then we have to pull out one of those buses that are in reserves. We feel like this is an immediate need that we need to be looking at, because no matter if DCS continues, if we contract out, or if we bring it in-house, in all those situations, this is likely the fleet we'll be using, and we need to go ahead and make sure we're making yearly investments into that fleet. We did put funds into the budget to make a purchase. We had put funds in last year, but we held off until we knew what was going to be happening. So we did not purchase any buses last year, but we feel like because of the amount of time it takes to get buses in, that potentially in November, we may bring an item for the board to go ahead and start the purchase of 10 buses so that we could get those ready and hopefully here for the start of school next year, so that we could get at least these 10 units that are running daily routes that are 14 to 15 years old out of service.
Ms. Glenn?
How much does a bus cost?
It depends on, if you get what size passenger, but generally we'll need 100 to 110,000 per bus.
And does that include the new unfunded mandate of seatbelts?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Schafer?
Great report, Ms. Tillman. The SRO issue, that will only exist if the vote is to dissolve. Okay, so
Yes.
they would continue that if they don't.
Yes, sir. We have reached out to various county entities that have the ability to commission those officers still, because that's the big problem. To employ them, you have to be able to commission them. So we have reached out to some other entities to see if they would be willing to take that on in November in the event that that happened. And so we're hopeful that we'll have a solution.
Would that be Carrollton and Farmers Branch Police Departments?
No,
These
would
are
not.
Dallas and
Dallas. Mhm.
Irving.
Irving. Okay. Any other questions, board members?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So what do you guesstimate the impact will be financially to our district if Dallas County Schools goes away? Do you have a guesstimate?
Well, we're going to need to start investing at least $1 million, likely a year, in buses. And then Dallas County Schools has approximately a $2 to $2.5 million competitive advantage to anybody else because of the tax rate, the tax collections, as well as the state reimbursement. We won't have either of those, so we expect at least $2 million more for us to operate, along with the $1 million in buses. So minimum $3 million.
And there's been a strong campaign to dissolve Dallas County Schools. Has there been any kind of campaign to keep it? I think the employees are doing it, but it's not strong. So it's interesting, the evolution. I remember when we joined them, and our buses used to say Carrollton-Farmers Branch, now they say Dallas County Schools, but the evolution, and sometimes the pendulum goes from one to the other.
And I would just say, if you happen to see any of our DCS workers, to be sure and thank them, because they're in a terrible position right now. And every meeting we've been at, we've been the only district that did not have one complaint after another related to operations. Now, we agree with the issues happening on the management side, but in terms of operations, out of the other districts, we never heard any that were in our situation. So we definitely want to recognize those folks that have remained dedicated to CFB.
And that would be Mr. Hannah doing a great job. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, David Hand.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Ms. Klein?
I was just going to take it one little step further. So in November, election ends, you have to take action if they don't stay in action, in whatever. So in operation, would that action include trying to figure out bidding versus running your own operation, or when do you anticipate doing that?
We would get the results back from the bid in November. We would come to the board in December with the results of the bid, along with a preliminary estimate of cost potentially to bring it in-house, and give the board the opportunity to evaluate those options.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to item number 11 now. Discuss and consider possible action on welcoming affirmation for students of Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD. This is an action item. Board members, Ms. Valenzuela requested this item be placed on the agenda, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Ms. Valenzuela.
Thank you very much, President Matthews. I'm going to start by reading this, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation. So this is an affirmation to designate all Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District schools as welcoming and protective to the fullest extent of the law. Whereas Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees is committed to following the law and providing a high-quality education to all students, regardless of their immigration status, ethnicity, national origin, language, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, disability, or socioeconomic status. And whereas Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District maintains policies that prohibit discrimination, including harassment against any student on any basis protected by law that creates an intimidating, threatening, hostile, or offensive education environment. And whereas Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District, through its policies and practices, has made a commitment to a quality education for all students, which includes a safe and stable learning environment. Now, therefore, be it affirmed that Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District Board of Trustees declares that every Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District campus continues to be welcoming and protective of all its students and their families to the fullest extent of the law. So, for those of you who stuck it through last meeting, thank you so much. You might notice that this is a lot shorter than before. Mr. Shackman and Mr. Fleming and I met, and we had a very good discussion on the purpose of this. And what, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I think that we were able to get the point across with a lot fewer words, right? And I think we got it down to saying a lot of what matters, okay? So this is an affirmation, okay? And what that means is, you know, when we think of resolutions, I think we think a lot of maybe New Year's resolutions, that thing we start at the beginning of the year that we abandoned 3 months in, right? An affirmation is different because it's something that you are already committed to doing. And it's something that you've been doing and that you want to continue to do. And this affirmation is a statement that reassures our students who are already safe, that we love them, that we want them, that we respect them, and that doesn't change. No matter what's going on outside of the walls of our schools, we will continue these practices, okay? Again, this doesn't imply that we didn't do this historically. This doesn't laden us with further legal obligations. It doesn't laden us with further financial obligations. Its sole purpose is to improve the learning environment by making sure students know what is already true, that they are safe. That's it.
Thank you, Candace. Okay, board members, this item is marked for action. Is there a motion to be heard? Mr. Ramos.
I make the motion that we adopt the welcoming affirmation for the students of Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD.
I have a motion from Mr. Ramos. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Robachik. All those in favor? Whoa, time out, before I ask you to be in favor. I'll do this, I mess this part up all the time, and I'm still kind of new at this, okay, so just, but I'm getting there. Okay, we do have a second. Is there any discussion before we vote, Mr. Ramos?
Nancy raised her
Ms.
hand
Klein?
first.
I have a question for an English teacher. Were you an English teacher, Mr. Matthews?
No, ma'am, I taught
Okay,
American
just-
history, but I'm.
But I do know we do have an English teacher present. So the second whereas, I'm kind of confused, and it could be lack of caffeine. But Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District maintains policies that prohibit discrimination, including harassment against any student on any basis protected by law. I'm so confused by that protected by law sitting there. I think it may belong in a different part of the sentence, or I don't understand. Maybe someone can explain to me what the sentence with the protected, I like the to the fullest extent by law at the top, but that protected by law about talking about, we have policies that prohibit discrimination against any student on any basis protected by law.
So legally, they're protected classes.
Well, I get that, but I think the way the sentence is put together, it doesn't go well. It doesn't, the nouns and the is there another English teacher present? Verbs.
I actually do a lot of English
Okay.
instruction on a fairly regular basis.
Do you see the part against any student on any basis protected by law
Against
that
any
creates?
student on any basis protected by law. I mean, it's a participle describing basis. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I believe you took that language right out of FFH local, I believe,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that, and I almost asked, I was on the website looking for FFH local and I didn't find it yet. So that language is straight out of FFH local? Okay, because I like to the fullest extent of the law, but if that is something, it just seemed kind of like a strange lack of comma or something.
I think it's legal language intended for Texas legislature. That's really, like, that
Or the
is.
TEA or
Yeah,
something.
well, the TEA and how they define protected classes here, it's kind of a phrase even directly lifted from that. I don't pretend to really fully understand legalese, but that phrase comes up.
And the basis still kind of has me, I guess the basis is protected by law, or
Yeah, that specific foundation.
that's what's protected by law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Matthews?
Any other, yeah, Mr. Fleming?
Thank you, sir.
I was trying to find something wrong with it. I couldn't find it. Go ahead.
Candace, thank you for taking the time out to listen to our concerns the last school board meeting. I think you went back and we all took a look at it as a subcommittee, and I think the changes that were made were valid changes, and I'd like to thank you for your time that you put into this, and also hearing us out, and I like the way that you exhibit passion for all the kids. It's pretty evident in the first go-around where we're discussing this issue. So, and my whole, I didn't have any contentions, but my only deal in the beginning was just to make sure that, we're affirming something that we're already doing. And so, and that's what I'm appreciative, because we are doing a good job, and we strive to keep all kids safe. And so, but again, thank you for your passion. Thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for steering this charge to the school board.
Well, I think Key had his hand up first, because
Mr. Ramos?
I want to thank Ms. Valenzuela, Mr. Shackman, Mr. Fleming for working on this committee. I know I'd worked with Candace, Ms. Valenzuela before on the first go-around, and, sometimes we needed something like this where it's very basic, very plain, straight to the point. And there was, I guess, some influences on my part, and I'm willing to recognize that. And I guess that's the legalese in me, and where I need a lot more whereases and now therefores, where I'm used to seeing them. But I really do appreciate the simplicity, it's a matter of fact, and the practicality of this statement, this affirmation. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Klein?
okay, so the first whereas has the Board of Trustees as the subject, and the second one has the district, and the third one has the district. And I think we're kind of all in it together, right?
Yes.
And I'm almost wishing that either the first, but it doesn't really fit with Board of Trustees when it says is committed. I was thinking maybe has been and is committed. If there was a way to say that has been and is, but it's really almost more the district. So the third whereas, where it says through its policies and practices, has been and still and is committed to a quality education for all students.
I'm good the way it is.
It does say maintains.
Where's it?
That's the district, not the.
Yeah, and I'm okay with the district, because to me, it's really the district, because we all are transient, but the district's the one that's done this all these years. So, yeah. Maintains to me sounds like that legalese again, but I'm okay.
Y'all are all looking at me.
Well, it says maintains policies and all that stuff that sounds all real stuffy and boring, but.
That was my nickname in college.
What was that?
Stuffy and boring.
Mr. Bocci?
I doubt that. Again, I love this message. This message is what I think all of our teachers and everybody is about. And I have no no issue with the message and the content at all. My concern is still that the role of the school board is to develop policy and governance, and that's not what this is. And I think, I would use my role or my platform as a school board member to communicate these things that we're doing, just without a formal resolution, affirmation, a signing document. I don't think that's the role, but I think it is our role to communicate policies that are in place and making sure that our students and families know that they're safe and welcome, because they are.
Well, I think part of that communication, as you're talking about, this would be a welcome part of that communication that we put out there.
Absolutely.
And personally, I don't have much of a problem with the way some of these things are worded, nor do I think anybody else that reads this or sees this are going to be, going over with a fine-tooth comb about the ises or has-beens or whatever. So that's just my personal 2 cents worth.
Well, it
But I
isn't.
I do appreciate the work you put in on it, Ms. Valenzuela, and your passion. And I thank you and Mr. Shackman and Mr. Fleming for being on that subcommittee.
And
Any
I'm
other
sure
discussion?
I'm sure they appreciated being conscripted.
Excuse me?
I'm sure they were, I'm sorry, I'm sure they really appreciated being voluntold.
Yeah, well,
That was a great 4 hours.
do we have any other discussion, board members? No. Okay, this item is marked for action. We've already done that. No, didn't know. No, we don't have a motion, do we?
We did. We have
We
first
did
and
have
a
a motion
second.
and we had a second, and we just got through discussing it. So now we're gonna vote. Dr. Burns, am I not? Okay, that's where I was going till you interrupted me. Okay. Just playing. Board members, all those in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. I have 6 votes for. All those opposed, 1 opposed. Motion carries. The next item is item number 12, closed meeting as authorized under Texas Government Code, including but not limited to section 551.071 consultation with attorney, 551.072 real property, 551.074 personnel matters, 551.076 security devices, 551.082 school children / district employees / disciplinary matter or complaint, 551.0821 personally identifiable student information, 551.084 investigation. However, there are no matters posted for discussion in closed meeting. Therefore, the board will move on to the next agenda item, item number 12, comments from board members regarding posted agenda items. Board members, do any of you have comments you wish to make at this time? Mr. Shackman.
I'm actually going to make a comment about the non-posted agenda item and express my displeasure in the fact that one item was removed. I appreciate the administration sharing with us that they had not been able to complete some reports and that they wanted more time. But the reality is, the way the system is supposed to work is that once and our operating procedures say items requested in accordance with operational procedures are agendized, they are not to be removed when they're action items. And I am disappointed that the term limits issue was pulled from the agenda and is not there. Further, I was really surprised because I went to our website to double-check some wording of last meeting and to double-check even some of Ms. Klein's questions, which we've not gotten a list of. And I was surprised to discover that we're presently in violation of Government Code 551. We just read all of their 551 because last month's meeting is not posted on our website. And so the meeting that shows up is August. I'm sure, I don't know if it's an oversight, I don't know, and I'm sure we can correct it, but I would encourage us to be sure and get that done. But this item was supposed to be on tonight's agenda, and frankly, there is no legitimate excuse for removing a properly vetted board member's agenda item. While discussing it at the meeting, the admin certainly had the option of saying, we need more time, but as a board, we can make that decision. And the fact that this has been removed is disturbing. The bottom line is, it appears that the administration and a minority of this board seems pretty dead set against term limits. And I hope that there will be a complete vetting of this and that it will come out and that we will have this going forward, because this item to be removed was not correct. And it had to be on the agenda. And why the validation of that request for the agenda isn't there as a video is a little surprising. I'll let you each ponder that. That's kind of another issue. But the bottom line is, I want to be sure that tonight it is clearly understood that this item is requested as an action agenda item for the November board meeting, and that it will appear there regardless of whether all of the reports have been able to be completed or not. And colleagues, I am disappointed that we didn't have a chance to work on it tonight.
Any other comments or questions, board members?
I'd actually like to add, because I actually spent a little bit of time looking for that video. It's not on the Vimeo yet, and it's not on our website, but it is on CFBISD's YouTube. So it is somewhere, just so everybody else knows that's where it is. And I'm sure it's going to expand into the other.
We just need to get it populated up there because it's supposed to be there.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Hearing none, seeing none, we have reached the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned at 9:52 p.m.